Well, it couldn't have been an enjoyable ride from the Olympic Village for Toshi Yoshida and the American women. You had to figure not much was said. Most were probably listening on their headsets to music, having some quiet time, thinking about this moment, a moment that could change the rest of their lives. Not if they win, but if they had lost. They worked 4 years to get here, and they're in danger of being knocked out in pool play.
And I tell you, this American team throughout the tournament, their collective will had to be questioned because they'd been inconsistent. They hadn't shown that real grit, that desire, that yearning to win.
U.S. leading 5-1 in game 2. They won the opener 25-22. A great comeback, and the block is there. And again, Heather Bound is part of the formula.
Logan Tom, number 15, does such a great job of not only moving her feet to the outside, but watch her swing her arms, get up, and really press that left hand over, completely sealing the line attack.
The United States has reeled off 6 straight points in game 2. Taiba Hanif. And the American bench celebrates.
Hanif is doing a great job tonight of being more aggressive in her approach. She's gathering herself and really getting to the ball and hitting it at its highest point of contact, something she hasn't been doing with much efficiency throughout this tournament.
Mesa to the bench. Munoz is in for the Cubans. Cubans run the pipe right down the middle. No touch by the Americans. And it is a point for the U.S. That is 8 in a row, and the Cubans look befuddled. It's not often you'll see them without a lot of exuberance, a lot of energy. They walk over and surround Luis Calderon, their head coach. He's not an excitable guy. Mike, we've talked about the Cubans and how different everything is about Cuba, including their approach to volleyball. They run a 6-2. What does it mean?
Well, it's basically you have a setter in that middle line is the net. You have a setter in the front row and a setter in the back row. But when the setter's in the front row, it's a hitter. Then the setter moves to right front. She's still a hitter. And then the setter moves to right back and becomes a setter. And the setter from the back row moves forward and becomes a hitter. The real pluses to the 6-2 attack is that you always have setters in the front right to run the ball in transition. And you just play better defense because you always have another setter in the back row. Of course, with a 5-1, you have one setter, touches the ball all the time. And that's really the key because they set up great connections with all 5 of their hitters.
Mike, they're the only team in the world that runs it. They've won 3 straight gold medals. Why are they the only team in the world that runs it?
Because they have superior athletic ability and they can basically get away with it.
No, they're not playing well right now. That is a service error by the Americans. The Cubans in game 2, 6 swings, 0 kills, 2 hitting errors. The U.S., much better percentage, 5 kills in 7 swings. But a service error makes it 2 serving 8. Logan Tom off the block and out.
Again, Logan Tom with a nice little job of outside hitting, just going up, hanging, and tooling the Cuban block.
Toshi Yoshida, he came out and met the media. We talked with him after that shocking loss to the Dominicans. He swallowed hard and answered the question, how did it happen? He gave a lot of credit to his opponent and said his team wasn't ready to play. Logan Tom into the block and down. Another point for Logan Tom. The Stanford grad is carrying the U.S. national team.
Logan Tom that time sliding it through the Cuban block. Cuba, like Brazil, one of those teams that just has to play with passion and emotion, and right now they are flat and showing none of that.
Heather Bound from the University of Hawaii. Tough block by the Americans, but out and a point for the Cubans.
Ruiz doing a real good job of saving that trap set, tooling the American block. If anyone's going to get him jump started, it's this fantastic outside hitter here. Great defender.
And an ace as it comes off the net. Again, if you haven't watched international volleyball much in the last few years, this is a let serve and it is now legal.
Ball just dies in front of the American passers.
Back to Tom. Off the hands and dug in the back row by Ruiz. They fake middle, go to Tom again. You've been saying it, Mike, and they're starting to listen. Feed Logan Tom.
And Logan Tom so effective moving around the court. This time she's going to hit a little flare on the inside. Catches number 6, Ramirez, sleeping, and just buries that ball cross court. Just a fun player to watch. Logan Tom, so active, both defensively and offensively.
Good lineage for Logan Tom. Her dad, Melvin, played for the Philadelphia Eagles and the Chicago Bears in the late 60s and early 70s. Cubans answer back. As Cuba's second kill of the game, only their second kill. Long week for Toshi Yoshida and his staff. Logan Tom again.
Stacey Sikora continues to do a great job of passing those jump serves. Logan Tom, the beneficiary. Hitting great from the left and right side. There you see Sikora, such a spark plug in the back row.
Logan Tom was the only American who played well against Russia. Well, I shouldn't say the only, but by far the best American on the floor that night. 19 kills. She's already got 9 here tonight.
Ramirez, number 6, on that right side, and another defensive gem by Ruiz, number 1 there. There's the emotion.
It's always just below the surface for the Cubans in it, Mike. That is a miss it, what they call a wall ball, and he just missed it. It's a pop-up. Still the Americans lead by 5, and they won the first game 25-22. The Americans have to win or their Olympics are over. Cuba is already through to the quarterfinals. They run the slide to Danielle Scott.
And that's what the Americans need more of, that middle hitter coming around behind. That will set up their outside. All starts with the pass. Americans doing a good job of passing in this game too.
Danielle Scott, a 3-time Olympian to serve. Logan Tom covers her own. And Kiba Phipps gets stuck by Unidos.
Even Phipps really hasn't got a lot of sets so far in this match, and you can tell she's just out of rhythm here. Tried to cup it down, and Cuba right on that.
Cuba has put together a 6-3 run, trying to climb back into game 2, trying to get back into this match. Kiba Phipps again, just got roofed, took it a little higher. And now Cuba will just have to go across on the 3rd hit. Chance for the U.S. A tough back set by Almo Santos to Hanif, and a misplayed ball. Munoz couldn't handle it. It's a point for the Americans. Mubarak Hanif, Taiba's dad, shakes that flag after every point.
Well, we talked about it before. The Americans have just not been able to put together back-to-back games, consistent performances. And let's see if they can do it here in game 2.
No touch by the Americans, and now the U.S. leads Cuba 15-8.
Munoz, number 13 there, one of the young subs coming off the bench. Just hitting a waffle ball.
And Logan Tom just missed wide, but it's an aggressive mistake, and they applaud the effort.
Gotta love it. Logan Tom's playing great defense first, then trying to rip it from the 10-foot line, doing it all.
Cubans, superb athletes and capable of big runs at any time. They haven't played their best volleyball tonight. Nice dig by Almo Santos. Hanif cross court and past the double block, and it's 16-9.
And sometimes it's the little things. Heather Bound with a great jump back set, middle hitter.
The Americans lead the Cubans 16-9 in game 2. They won the first. They are holding on, but they are running out of chances. The United States leading Cuba 16-9. Final day of pool play in the Women's Olympic Indoor Volleyball Tournament. The Cubans are through to the quarterfinals. The Americans must win or they are done in Athens. And Taiba Hanif just got handcuffed, and the Cubans back within 6.
Just a forgettable play all the way around for both Cuba and the United States, but Cuba gets the point.
The United States won the opener, 25-22. We played best 3 out of 5. The first 4 games are to 25, win by 2. If we get to a game 5, we still win by 2, but we only played a 15. Logan Tom has been outstanding for the Americans, especially tonight, but throughout this tournament in Athens.
Logan Tom doing such a good job of mixing it up, cross court down the line. This time she sees the opening, just ripping it down the line. Every time the U.S. gets a good pass and they can run something fast out to Logan, very effective. Gets into trouble when she has to hit the high balls.
Logan Tom, a match-high 10 kills. She's been in double figures every match here. Danielle Scott jumping on the free ball that danced off the net. She's got 3 kills. And Danielle Scott is a defensive player. She's a blocker, and she's contributing to the offense.
Well, it's all setting up by Heather Bound here. Just another great jump serve. Cuba can't control it. Scott, the beneficiary. Heather Bound so quiet in the match before against Russia. No kills, no aces. She's come out real strong here against Cuba.
Back come the Cubans. Barros. The experience, the steadying hand for the Cuban offense. Six feet 2 inches. And here is Ruiz. He's just 5'8", but is a leaper. Into the net, point U.S. And so the Americans keep that gap, trying to break contact here with the Cubans and go up 2-0. A match they must win to play on. Hanif is out, Lindsey Berg is in. We've seen this rotation throughout the tournament, but first time tonight. Lindsey Berg comes in to set and serve for Amo Santos. We'll get a quick breather, and also Nancy Metcalf, the southpaw.
Coming in to play the right side.
Nancy Metcalf's parents are here. That's Dee Mandering. I imagine Harry's somewhere in the vicinity as well. There he is. Now, they're not talking to each other right now. They're both watching their daughter playing the Olympic Games for the United States. Take a breath, Dad. It's going to be a long night. Too much for Sikora to handle.
Sanchez 17. Coach Calderon using a lot of substitutions right now, trying to find a combination that at least shows some emotion.
And that is just out, a service error. Well, it's the first time we've seen Sanchez since the match against Germany, the match they lost, and she had 12 kills that night. But since then, they've gone to other people, and they have so many options. Logan Tom from Salt Lake City. When she graduated high school, the mayor declared it Logan Tom Day. She was a star before we knew about it. And an ace for Logan Tom, the team's best server.
And again, the Americans continue to put the pressure on Cuba with the jump serve.
I gave her credit for an ace. She didn't deserve it. It was an overpass.
As good as an ace.
It pays off. 22-12.
You don't see it in the stats, but the American coaches, believe me, when you hit a jump serve and you cause an immediate point with an overpass or just a horrible pass that has to be bumped over for a free ball, you're getting credit somewhere. Not in the official stats, but somewhere. Those are serves that lead directly to points.
The Americans, when they break that huddle, they yell one word: together. Now, never has it been more true than tonight. They have to come together as a team. Toshi Yoshida, his staff, and his group will pack their bags and skulk out of Athens. Losers in pool play, and they came to these games as the #1 ranked team in the world. The U.S. right now on a 6-2 run and trying to close out game 2. 22-12, and Logan Tom to serve. Sikora with the fist bump. Metcalf, the lefty.
finally some relief in the faces of the American players. They've been playing so tight. This is just a great defensive play, but watch the set from Logan Tom. She sets that perfectly over to the right side. Metcalf taking care of business. Everything going the Americans' way right now.
That was an ace.
Logan Tom just ripping another jump serve.
That's her third ace of the match, and Logan Tom has put the Americans at game point and on the brink of going 2 up on the 3-time defending Olympic gold medal champions. And the Americans have closed out the Cubans again, 25-12. That is a statement. Toshi Yoshida, he doesn't show it on his face, but you know he's got it in his head. A 9-2 run, a lifetime of dreaming, 4 years of training, and now the Americans are down to one final chance.
Help me lose this bitter taste, searching for words unsaid. I'm dangling by a thread. I'm dangling by a thread. I'm dangling by a thread.
We go to game 3 on a night in which the Americans have to win or they can turn in their Olympic uniforms. They put themselves in a hole. It is the final night of pool play, and they have to beat one of the best teams in the world just to stay in town. And they so far have been outstanding. 25-22 in game 1 and 25-12 in game 2. And Calderon cannot be happy with the way his Cuban team is playing. Mike Dodd, they looked awful in game 2.
Had no ball control and, more importantly, no emotion.
American block has been big. That is just out. But for the Cubans, Ruiz and Mesa, they're 2 big scorers who combined for 10 kills in the match, but only 1 in game 2. So the American block is starting to become effective.
Here's the best jump server for Cuba, number 18, Barros.
Heather Bound.
Logan Tom taking that tough jump serve and making an absolutely perfect pass to Amos Santos, running the middle. Heather Bound, who's come off a rough game against Russia, to play great for the United States in the first 2 games.
The best match of the tournament was 8 kills in the loss to the Dominican Republic. She has 7 kills already here. A miss. The Americans appeal to the chair and get no love. So they just go win the point instead.
And again, Logan Tom mixing up her attack. That time with just a soft little dink around the block. She's done such a great job of doing that in the last 2 matches.
Again, the Cubans had 2 attackers go to the same place. This time it paid off.
That time Mesa, number 11, tooling Logan Tom out of bounds.
6 kills now for Mesa. And Mesa will serve. A good one, dipping down. An overpass and a chance here for the Cubans. Ruiz, cross court. You can see it set up, Mike. She opens to that side of the court and just pounds that ball.
Just an absolutely great play all the way around for Mesa as well, number 11. She got it going with the jump serve and then took a free ball pass that was heading over the net, giving Ruiz a perfect set to the outside.
Ruiz has 7 kills now. That's her first of the game and only her second since game 1. They go back to Ruiz, and that one she misses badly, punching that ball with a knuckle and well past the end line. Calderon says, settle down. Let's relax. Let's play our game.
Americans have been blocking so well the entire match. A cumulative effect. What happens when you're blocking well? You get in the heads of the hitters, and all of a sudden you see those wall balls.
Mike, you talked about it on the ride over today. You talked about this young Cuban team, and you said sometimes with young players, if you let them get out quickly, they gain confidence. But if you get on them, they can fall apart. We saw it in game 2.
And that's exactly what the Americans have done at no better time than tonight when they really needed it. big key for the Americans now is continue the intensity. They have a time when they win and things are going well to let up, and they can't do that tonight.
It's an overpass, and Almo Santos tried to push it over. Logan Tom off the block. And another kill for Logan Tom. She has a dozen.
Logan Tom really finding her rhythm, seeing the blocks, seeing the seams. Just tooling the Cubans on that play.
Logan Tom, part of a national championship team back in 2001 on the farm at Stanford. She is a legend in a couple different places, and one of them is Maples Pavilion. Blocked by the Americans again. Cuba Phipps and Danielle Scott.
Phipps and Scott collectively setting up a wall for the Americans. That time it was Danielle Scott with that right hand pressing over. This great technique right there. All set up with the serve of Logan Tom's, getting the Cubans in trouble with service reception.
Scott 6'2", Phipps 6'3". Dug by Logan Tom. Cuba Phipps, the dink, and it falls. And you've been on a court for the last 20 years. You know where to put it.
Cuba Phipps showing that great smile of hers, dinking that ball on the outside. What a wonderful story. Went to Italy for 13 years. What does she do when she comes home? She buys a home for herself. Not just that, one for her mom and one for her sister as well. It's one of the really, really good people in volleyball. Cuba Phipps right there.
Yeah, she bought all those houses in Las Vegas where she grew up. Cuba Phipps didn't go to college. She joined the national team when she was a 17-year-old high school senior and played in the Olympics in Seoul in 1988. The team finished 7th. And then she had a problem. She was banished from the national team for smoking marijuana. In those days, Mike, it was one and done. She wrote a letter of apology, and she went to Italy many, many times. They said, please come back. We've changed the rules. We're willing to forgive and forget. And you can come back and play for us. And she said, thank you, but no thank you. I'm staying in Italy. What changed her mind?
Tara Battle-Cross. She was then the assistant coach on the team, went over and played with her in club in Italy and convinced her to rejoin the team 2 years ago.
Off the Americans block and out. Cubans back within 1.
Cuba Phipps even at 35. There's
Tara Cross Battle. And you'll see her tonight. And that's also Agana Namani in the background. We're almost assuredly going to see her as well. She was Logan Tom's teammate at Stanford and is the future of American volleyball. But right now, it's the veterans on the court,
right
Mike.
now it's all smiles for the Americans, and you're only going to see Namani when the other outside hitters are making mistakes, and right now everything's going right for the Americans. Phipps.
Off the American block and a point for Ramirez.
Referee calling a lift on Cuba there. Cuba just so out of sync, so frustrated.
And the Cuban fans don't like the call by Luciano Gaspari of Italy. The Americans lead in game 3, 8-6. Americans won the first game 25-22. They won the second 25-12, and they lead in game 3, 8-6 over one of the best teams in the world, the Cubans. Jim Watson, along with Mike Dodd, a 96 silver medalist in Atlanta, inside Peace and Friendship Stadium. We're in Folly Row. It's on the west side of Athens, about 15 miles from the Olympic Stadium. And tonight, for the U.S., it's the last stop. It's their last chance. They have to win to advance to the quarterfinals. Cuba is already through. They can improve their seeding. But actually, it's been the Cubans who have been playing, well, I don't know if they're lackadaisical, Mike, lack of focus, or they just don't have that much to lose tonight, so they're not as motivated as the gals in the red shirts.
Well, a victory for them would move them up and give them an easier first-round match in the quarterfinals, but they've come out so flat tonight. And really, what's really surprising is the lack of emotion.
Cuba's a young team, only 4 back from the team that won gold in Sydney. And so a bit unpredictable.
There's Cuba Phipps again. She's had a great trip through the front row, registering 3 kills. Now she's going to go back and serve the floaty and put more pressure on the Cubans. time the Cubans with a great service reception and the quick out to that player, number 1, Ruiz. Such an explosive outside hitter, leader of this team.
In comes Fernandez.
When you need to go to your bench, isn't it nice to bring in a 4-time Olympian?
Sure. Logan Tom. Ruiz, you see her explode out of that stance. Same sequence again. That is long, there's no touch. Point for the Americans, it's 11-8.
You know, and again, the Americans get 3 up on the block in the middle, putting the pressure on, causing another unforced error.
Calderon, he knows that he has a young team, so he's not a yeller, he's a teacher. He's right in the ear of his players. Coach is allowed to get right out on the sideline. Toshi Yoshida, kind of a similar personality, quiet man, talks, doesn't scream. Americans trying to track it down, and Heather Bound runs out of room. I'll give some credit to Sanchez in the back row for the Cubans. 3 good digs. Toshi Yoshida, 4th year as the U.S. head coach, is an assistant to Mick Haley in Sydney. They run the quick set to Danielle Scott. And Danielle Scott always has a big grin after she does something positive for her team.
Having a nice match tonight, hitting out of the middle, putting up some good numbers blocking.
And back to the game face. Cuba with 5 hitting errors in this game. Again, it's a byproduct of young teams. Sometimes they're hot, sometimes they are not. Chance. Back set far side. And it's not Ruiz, it's Ramirez.
The fiery number 6, beating the ball from the right side.
Ramirez now with 4 kills. Tipped by Logan Tom. And Logan Tom just seems to have a sense of the rhythm of a match, when to go hard and when to go soft.
It's a real sweet shot right there. Just catching the Cuban defense unaware, and Logan Tom elevating so well on the outside. Just perfect rhythm.
They went back set again to Ramirez, but the American block was waiting for it.
Absolute fantastic one-on-one block there for Kiva Phipps, just moving her feet to the outside, getting up and over. We'll watch it here. Logan starts it with the serve. Phipps finishes it with the roof.
One-handed set, pounded down and in by Sanchez.
And that's what Cuba's capable of. Just an unbelievable athletic play by both the setter and then the outside finish. There's number 10, 3 gold medals to her credit.
Down the line, and Toshi Yoshida, the American coach, put both fists in the air for the first time since he got off the plane. I have not seen that kind of an outburst from him before.
And here you're seeing Hanif, an aggressive approach. Cuba with a great defensive play. And here's the finish. She's just going to go up, gather herself, and rip that down the line. That is what Coach Yoshida loves.
Toshi Yoshida, bottom part of your screen, standing right on the sideline, and Calderon, the Cuban head coach, doing the same at the other end of the building.
Sanchez, 17, doing a nice job coming off the bench, hitting on the outside for Cuba. Coach Calderon just trying to get some spark in his team, some life.
Heather Brown on the slide.
And the Americans just doing a great job of not letting Cuba back in this game.
8 kills for Heather Bound. The Americans won game 1. The Americans won game 2, and the Americans lead in game 3. Welcome back to Athens, the games of the 28th Olympiad. Americans and the Cubans in women's volleyball. Last day of pool play. The Americans need to win to advance. The Cubans are already through. And the Americans playing like a desperate team. They won the first 2 games, and now with a block, lead 17-12 in the third. Jim Watson along with Mike Dodd, a 96 silver medalist. And I don't think the Americans could have even dreamed of coming out like this against the Cubans, one of the best in the world. You got to eyeball that one and hope that it carries over the sideline. It did. There's that smile from Cuba Phipps that she flashes from time to time.
And that was one of the big question marks starting this match. Cuba Phipps has been very inconsistent throughout the tournament. They needed her to come out and come out big, and that's exactly what she's done.
Cuba Phipps not wearing them right there, but she has goggles in her hand that she wears during play. And that's because of a problem that she had during the 2002 World Championships. She was injured during practice, been hit in the face, and actually lost sight for 10 minutes. Blood was pooling up in her eye sockets, and that night she had to sleep sitting up. Eventually everything worked out okay, but just to be safe, she's going with the goggles.
And Jim, that was right after she had just joined the team. They were on a roll. They were heading into the finals of the World Championships undefeated, and that's when she hurt her eye and didn't play in the final game. And to this day, she's just thinking, if I could have played, we'd have won that one.
It's got to be the scariest 10 minutes of her life. Can only imagine. Barros off the block and out. The Cubans are much better than they're showing tonight. The Cubans were cruising in the opening round against Germany. They were up 2-0 and then fell apart. Germany came back and beat them in 5. But since then, the Cubans have been perfect. They beat the Russians 3-2. They beat the Chinese 3-2. Those are 2 of the best teams in the world. And then they ran the table on the Dominicans 3-0, and that was the team that beat the Americans.
And that loss to the Dominican Republic was really what has put the Americans in this desperate situation this evening.
Tayyiba Hanif with 8 kills now. Having a good match on a night when they need it. Here's Ruiz, a tremendous leaper. Stayed close to the floor on that effort.
Another kill for Mesa, number 11. One of the 2 setters in this offense.
Robin Amos Santos, American setter from Honolulu. And here's Barros. Ace for Barros. And Toshi Yoshida is going to call a timeout right here. So he feels the Cubans creeping back into this game.
Barros just ripping that ball down the middle. Best jump server for the Cuban team. Coach Calderon, listen in. He's talking one play at a time. Just make one good play and then it'll lead to another, and that's kind of the philosophy you have to have when things have gone completely against you so far. And that's a great way to start it right there with Barros bringing in some jump serve heat. Onus now on the Americans to continue their good play and their good service reception. Not let Cuba get a string of points going right here.
15 serving 19. And now it's 16 serving 19. And Barros now has 4 aces in this match. She had 7 aces in one match against China earlier in the tournament.
Player that's capable of big runs of points.
Logan Tom.
And as they've done throughout the entire match, when things start to tighten up, quick set out to Logan Tom, tooling the Cuban block. She's been there all night long.
Sanchez dumps it in the net. The Americans now at 21-16. They need 4 for a sweep of Cuba and a berth in the quarterfinals. Vera Scott, even though they have a huge lead, she's not convinced.
That time Fernandez, number 10, just getting out and up and pressing with that right hand. Taking away the cross court. Great block for Cuba.
Off the block, and Logan Tom continues to carry the mail. She's got 15 kills tonight. Here comes Lindsey Berg back in, and Nancy Metcalf will join her.
Ramos Santos going to take a brief rest.
The Americans froze in the back row.
Fernandez with another kill.
Toshi Yoshida looks up and says, just give me 3. I just need 3. Out of the game comes Fernandez, and Vera Scott continues to suffer through it. That is a service error. Sikora eyeballed that one just out. And an easy put away for Danielle Scott.
Again, another great jump serve by Logan Tom.
United States now sitting on game and match point. They need 1 to advance to the quarterfinals and stay alive in Athens.
Something we haven't seen a lot of, Jim, and that is smiles on the American players' faces. Still alive.
Toshi Yoshida can take a breath for now. They will come back in 48 hours and play the number 2 team in the world, Brazil. Cuba has Italy. The Americans, faced with elimination, come through with a sweep.
Give us up!